I think a lot of people are approaching a peak. When we're only 2% of the way to the journey. Maybe not even. Alan would know better than I. This is 2%. Imagine what 90% would be like. But that's not going to be for another 50 years.
If you do aspire to reach your true potential, which I do think is kind of the root underneath this show in general, is holistic potential, health, wealth, life, and love. How do you maximize we all get one life, let's make the most of it. I think that's underneath this. And you and I are going to have to be more honest as we get older and older and older on what this really took.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1852, it's Freestyle Friday. And if you're new to NLU, Freestyle Friday means we don't really know what we're going to talk about. We're going to have a conversation. Obviously, there's going to be self-improvement. Maybe there'll be some laughs. Who knows? But before we do this, and we haven't done this in too long, and I'm not going to go through the whole list because that would be the entire episode, but I want to give a shout out to some of the newer Next Level Nation members. And here we go. Mallory, Taylor, James, Carissa, Ryan, Matt, Dane, Emily, Gregory, Marika, Aswand, Jay, Matthew, Mark, Dana, Jennifer, Latasha, and Moses. You know Moses, our buddy Moses.
Yeah, he's in group coaching. No, different person. My apologies.
Moses is...
Different M, not the same name.
Different M, yes.
Both M's.
Mufaro.
Correct.
Is in group coaching. Shout out to Mufaro if you are listening. So yes, those are all the newer members of Next Level Nation. And the reason we're doing the shout outs is based on the fact that I was going back last night. So finished at about, I think I finished around 5:30, did some laundry, adulting at its finest. And I was just in one of those moods when I'm really high emotionally, really low emotionally, trying to figure out who I am, going through an identity crisis. I just look at old content. And I went back to some of our old episodes. And I went back to when we interviewed Isabella Picard for the first time.
Oh, no.
It was brutal. Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Everybody starts somewhere.
I went back to when we were in the studio, when we used to do live weekly episodes on Zoom. Remember that?
That was back before Zoom was a big thing. Zoom's been around for a long time, but it wasn't until COVID, the lockdown, that's when we were doing it. Zoom conferencing became so ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Why are you using that word? Why do you try to make me feel stupid?
I don't.
You said it twice this week.
I could have said
normal, popular, accessible, common.
Yeah.
He comes with ubiquitous. You know how to spell that? Can you spell that?
You know I don't like spelling.
Language of origin, please.
You know I don't speak Spanish. No, that's a silly quote from a comedy movie. I don't know how to spell it. I'm not going to spell it.
I don't know how to spell it either.
Is how much the world has changed in such a short amount of time. I think we lose sight of that. I know that we do. I do. And that's why I love watching old movies. That's why not only old movies, we watched Young Woman and the Sea. Produced by Disney, 2024. Phenomenal. Kev, every time you think your day is hard,
go watch that.
I want you to think about, don't go watch that. Every time you think your day is hard, go watch a film. No, but every time you think your day is hard, think about this. All right. This young woman is swimming the English Channel.
Is her name Diana? There's somebody very famous who is a swimmer. Diana Nyad, I think her name is. Is it the movie about her?
She passed away because this is set in the early 1900s. Yeah, this is like I believe it's 1924. Very fascinating. And the reason I love watching period pieces, old films, is because of the progression of technology is fascinating. You and I used to be in an in-person studio 5, 6, even let's say 10 years ago. StreamYard was not in existence.
Most likely not.
A lot of the things we use today, everyone out there watching or listening to this, a lot of the things you use today didn't exist 10 years ago. Like, let's, real quick. I have an Oura Ring on. That didn't exist 10 years ago. StreamYard didn't exist 10 years ago. We were using Buzzsprout as our podcast platform. That didn't exist 10 years ago.
Probably not, no.
These microphones probably didn't exist 10 years ago.
My underwear, my undies.
You
Can't
would
imagine.
come with that.
You know, this pair,
so
pretty new.
So this film, she is swimming the English Channel by herself in the middle of the ocean.
Hard pass.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, the ocean looks very red. Like the color of my shirt. If you're on YouTube, it's like that color. Probably a little lighter than that. And there's a boat following her. Not allowed to touch her because then she can't break the record. She was the first woman ever to swim the English Channel. That was the thing. And back then, women were perceived as too weak to do it and all this crap. Okay?
Mm-mm.
And so there's a boat alongside to make sure she doesn't die or be eaten by a shark or whatever. But can't touch her. She has to do it herself. That kind of thing. All of a sudden, they look ahead and it's a red just strip of ocean. Jellyfish. All jellyfish. Like thousands, probably 1 million jellyfish. She swims right through it, man. Hammers right on through it. That scene was brutal for me to watch. Because here's why. Based on a true story, she actually did that. There's a biography about her that this movie's built on. And I turned to Emilia when we were watching because she adored the film. One of our clients, she's a pilot. Her name's Heather. Shout out to Heather. She recommended we watch it because she's an empowered woman. And it's a very empowered woman film. Women listening, go watch this film. I promise you'll enjoy it. Because they were like, oh, women can't swim and blah, 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 blah. She crushed every man's record. It's just awesome to see. So anyways, so she swam through a sea of jellyfish and was stung hundreds of times and didn't give an F and was like, fuck y'all. I'm doing this. And just the epitome of someone who's willing to die for their dreams. Something about that is just so inspiring. Now, she didn't die, which is why I'm here to tell the story.
Right.
So if she did, it would have been a significantly worse ending. However, she did do it. And hopefully I didn't just give away the ending for everybody. However, I'm pretty sure everyone knows that she did it because it's a very historical moment. To this day, real quick.
Where are you going with this?
You'll see.
Okay.
Real quick. Largest parade ever for any athlete in history. That woman, when she came back from swimming the English Channel.
Where was she
New York City.
from? New York City. New York.
Yep. Yeah, she grew up in New York City. Now, the point of that story is dream chasing. For those of you out there who are struggle busing, who are dealing with the mundane, who have challenges, health, wealth, whatever, that just remember that everyone out there chasing their dreams is facing tremendous adversity, and it's better than jellyfish.
Yeah, swimming in any. I saw a picture the other day of, I don't remember what it's called, but when you're in the Navy, there are certain days where you get like a free day, for lack of better phrasing, and you can swim in the ocean. Just imagine like an aircraft carrier out in the middle of nowhere, and just a bunch of people leaping off of it into the ocean.
That's awesome.
No, it's not awesome at all. No, never. Never.
It's pretty awesome.
Whew. Never.
We never talk about this because we don't talk about anything other than self-improvement.
Right.
I grew up, my stepfather had many boats, and then eventually we had a yacht. It's like 34 foot or something. I don't know. But it had one of those towers that you walk up.
Yeah.
You can jump off the top of it. It was awesome.
What was it named? The
SS Minnow Johnson.
Jeff?
The SS Minnow Johnson. No, it was not named that. I honestly don't know what it was named.
I have a question for you. Let's provide maybe a little bit value. Just a sliver of value in this episode. That's it. That's all I ask. I'm not asking for much. You and I had a conversation behind the scenes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you said when you're really going through it and stuff sucks and it's brutal and all of that, you go find perspective in other things. Maybe you read a book, A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which is about some of the atrocities of a human, the atrocities that a human can go through. And you said that always helps me because it makes me realize what I'm going through is not anything in comparison to that.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to somebody who doesn't get the same response? Because you and I had a conversation, and you said one of my clients said it just makes them feel bad when they're going through something, and it's like, oh, you can't even feel bad about what you're going through because then you compare it to somebody else. What advice would you give to somebody?
Well, I want to provide context to that. So I coach a therapist, and she said you have to be careful with that because not only is your client sad, but now they have to feel sad about feeling sad. And for me, that's never the case. When I watch films, so I was interviewed recently by someone who grew up during the genocides in Rwanda. I think it might have been Moses. And he talks about this publicly, so I'm not airing his stuff out. He's a podcaster. And I remember feeling very humbled by that experience of how hard his life was in comparison to mine. To me, that's very inspiring. I don't really know what it's like to, when you feel sorry for yourself, I don't spend much time there. And again, I just want to be very transparent here, and this is probably where the episode's going, which is good. Freestyle Friday. I don't know if I know what it's like to spend a lot of time feeling sorry for myself. Because I find that, I guess I just can't empathize a ton because I don't, I mean, nothing that you and I are challenged with right now is actually that challenging in comparison to what many people have gone through. Not most people. I actually think we face more challenges than most people, statistically. The bigger your goals are, the more challenges you're going to face. I mean, no one needs to swim the English Channel. No one needs to do that. No. But that's what it takes to achieve great things, is you have to endure massive hardship, in this case, in the form of jellyfish. But what is your experience with that? Because
not the same as you. There's almost a piece of me that feels guilty that I don't think that way. It's like when I watch The Pursuit of Happiness is one of my favorite movies of all time, just because of the visualization of the amount of suffering and overcoming. But
yeah, it's a great film.
Great film.
World
and the scene in the subway bathroom or the train station bathroom.
Yeah,
my goodness. If I ever need to get emotional, I'll just go watch that. That'll do it every single time. But it's not that I feel sorry for myself. I think it's that I feel scared for myself. And not currently, not in this moment. But it's not, oh man, my life sucks. And it's not that. It's more, this is the most pressure, or this is the most uncertainty, or this is the furthest I've been in this direction, whatever it is. I think it's more that.
Do you trust that your mind is going to adapt? I think that's one of the things too, and you and I have talked behind the scenes about how I think you're too soft on people, and I think you think I'm too hard on people. And it depends. I mean, I think we're both getting better, so I'm not blanket statementing that. There's a certain level of pressure that is constructive for everyone. And it depends on the person. And the metaphor that I use in this is you're not going to put massive pressure on a 6-year-old when they're learning how to swim. But if you're 40 and you still don't know how to swim, someone has to come to you and say, come on, get in the fucking pool. What are we doing here? And I know that sounds like I'm being a dick, but the truth is there has to be some level of accountability. There's an expiration date on being incompetent.
But you're assuming that the 40-year-old human has exponentially more competence or capability or ability to receive feedback than the 6-year-old.
Well, they don't if they've been babied their whole life, right? And there is, I think there's the toxic masculine side, which is too much, and I think that's throw them in the pool, and if they drown, that's their own fault.
Right,
That's too extreme. But there's another extreme, which is don't hold anyone accountable to anything. There is an expiration date on blaming your problems on other people.
Definitely.
I think that, and it's very hard to find 5 and stay at 5, and I do understand that, right? I have some clients I playfully refer to as my Navy SEAL clients. They're twice a week, and there's a disclaimer that I give. There's a genuine, you don't go to the military. Imagine going to the military in boot camp and not having it be hard. You would have an army that is not competent. You wouldn't have, and then when the bullets start flying, everything's going to go horribly wrong. So there is something to be said for being cruel to be kind. You can overdo that. I'm not saying to be like Sergeant Gunnery in Full Metal Jacket. That's another level. But there has to be some level of suck it up, buttercup, as long as it's balanced with empathy and an understanding of what is constructive and what's destructive. So if you just lost a loved one, I'm not going to be like, dude, get your ass in the pool. But if you are soft and just chilling, eating Cheetos on the couch, Kev, what are we doing, son? Like, you have got to get it together. And we are going to go out of business if you don't.
But that's me, though. That's different.
But you have to be that optimal amount for every person. And you have to decide what's the point of the relationship. Is the point of the relationship growth, or is the point of the relationship to be kind? And you have to I can be kind, but growth is first.
Yeah.
So this is what I've had to learn, and this is just me in my 30s. So particularly 35, because I've realized I have to decide. I can't be I can be kind and hard on you, or I can be hard on you and kind. I'm choosing the second one. I care about your growth more than anything else. It doesn't mean I won't be kind to you. Mm-hmm. It just means I care about your growth more than whether or not I put you into a little bit of pressure. And I know that I'm not doing that with everyone. I'm not at a barbecue like, hey, what's your life goal and why are you lackadaisical? Like you have to pick and choose, of course, but parents deal with this all the time, and I coach a lot of parents. They have a hard time understanding the level of pressure to put their children in. Dude, when I went to college, I never talk about this, but I got financial aid, and I was going to get kicked out of school if I didn't succeed. Right? I would have gotten kicked out. Like, you can't afford this on your own, and you have academic scholarships. There's something that happens when you...
And playing Kevin's advocate. I don't like devil's
Nice.
advocate. It sounds... I don't like it.
That's way better.
A little bit better. I don't know if
exactly
it's way
what
better.
You should do, by the way. I love this.
Kevin's advocate.
Nice.
You also were capable enough to get into one of the most prestigious technical schools on the planet. So you should be able to handle more pressure than me, sir. Yeah. I was pumping gas at a fucking gas station, sir. And you're out here going to one of the best technical colleges on the planet.
Well, that's one of the things, and I've never shared this either on the show, but I'm glad we're having this conversation. I want to hear your perspective on this.
I don't know
Kevin's
how
advocate,
glad I am yet, because I fired my shot. Now I have to wait for the shot to get fired back. This is always the point where I might regret. I might regret what I just said.
Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes. So I remember one time I was partying with some friends, and there's a mutual friend of ours that we both are aware of. I don't know if we'd call them friends, but one of my close friends that I grew up with said, oh, well, he could have gone to WPI. He would crush it at WPI. He's brilliant. And I tried, and I got really made fun of, get off your high horse and blah, blah. But I tried to actually break it down, and I said, no, he couldn't. And this person was, dude, what do you mean? Get off your high horse. Like, what do you mean? Of course he could. He's brilliant. And I said, you're lessening the value of the people that are there. Like, no, he couldn't. Mm-hmm. I know people way smarter than him that can't either. And you know what it was? You know what pissed me off? It lessens what it took for me to do it. Yeah. You can't just go to Harvard because you think you should. Whatever that is, man, I don't have that. Like, there is no, well, anyone should be able to go to MIT. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I don't want to be unkind. I just want to be honest. Like, that's like, okay, should everyone be in the NFL? It lessens the value when you give it to everyone. There's no, like, okay, I got straight A's in high school. Kevin didn't. So who has earned? It's not even just earned in like a I'm righteous way. It's more of you're not ready. Like if you went to WPI, and I'm not trying to be unkind, I adore you.
I adore you as well.
I do.
Now
I'm
give
a
it to
huge fan.
me. Now
you
give it
now
to me.
You now could
Not
go
a
to
chance.
WPI. I'm not even kidding.
Not a chance.
All right, you'd struggle.
Sir.
You'd struggle.
Sir.
Yeah, all right, with the right guide or mentor.
No.
If I was your tutor, you could do it.
I know. Yeah, maybe. But I would hate you so badly.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay,
You know?
my point is that you are now physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually developed enough to go and handle that kind of pressure. And that is true. You can handle that pressure. Now, could you do Laplace transforms and advanced calculus? No. And even that is proof of my point, which is you can't just throw someone in calculus and expect them to swim.
Right.
Just like you can't jump in the ocean and expect them to swim. You have to start with pre-calc and then, algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, trigonometry, and you have to kind of build your way up. And all of us are building our way up. And so I think one of the problems that we face as human beings, you, myself, and our generation in particular, I was just on a podcast with someone who was a baby boomer, and he's not toxic masculine. He was very centered in this, but he said there's something to be said for, like, when you grow up on a farm, you eat last. The pigs eat first. And if you don't feed the pigs, you don't eat later. Mm-hmm. And he made a metaphor, and he said, imagine going to a table of millennials or younger generation and saying, hey, who wants to help me build a fence? And everyone's like, I'd rather play video games. And then, okay, well, who wants to help me feed the pigs? And I'd rather play video games. And okay, well, who wants to help me? I don't know. I don't know what farms do, but stuff around the farm. And everyone says no. And then he comes back with a big dinner with the bread and with the pork, and he said, who wants to eat? And everyone sits down and eats. I think that's a good metaphor for what's happening, particularly in countries of abundance. Is I think that past generations have built a lot of what we now enjoy, and we have lost sight of what built it. And I actually do believe that to be true, particularly because technology makes everything so accessible.
Yep.
Our grandparents had to go to the store and had to go to 6 different stores. I was talking to Emilia's mom about back in the day, and Emilia and I use Walmart Plus, and it gets delivered. It's great. And she said, back when, I asked her, what's different? What do you notice that's different? And she said, we used to have to go to a different store for one store for meat, one store for bread, one store for, it used to be a day-long trip just to get groceries, and now it's just, boop, it's there. And that's awesome, but I just think people don't understand. I think it makes us inherently a little more lazy. It does. It makes us a little more lazy. And I have to constantly fight against that. Yeah, it's easy to get entitled. Yeah,
it's easy to get entitled when there is quite literally magic at your fingertips. I needed dishwasher pods. Pressed one button, and they got here the next day.
Even dishwasher pods. It's like that saves time, right? So
even that. It's understandable. It's understandable. For me, I don't know what the right answer is for somebody out there. I think comparison is always dangerous. And the last thing I want for someone is for them to feel detrimentally guilty about feeling a certain way and then comparing it to somebody else. I'm not saying it can't be constructive. I think some of the interviews you and I did early on, it was so much perspective. Isabella was huge. Isabella was one of the most positive people ever, and she had gone through a ton. Eric LeGrand, when we went to his house, there was a lot of inspiration, and there was a lot of just gratitude during that. But for me, I don't think it's not enough to get me through. I don't know if that's normal. I don't know. I think your way is probably more rare than mine, if I had to guess, but I don't know.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. But I also have been, And I do feel privileged in this, which is such a weird duality, but I've been put under pressure my entire life. So
Yeah.
bad things have been happening my entire life. So I don't know how to, the best way I can describe it is, I playfully said this about Kev. You think a marathon's going to take me down, man? That's nothing compared to what I've endured. And so there's something to that. But to bring it back to you, I wanted to ask you, how do you, okay, so you work 6 days a week. I mean, I never used to say this because I was way too much of a coward, but I'm really leaning into who the fuck I am. And I don't.
Hey, you already used up your F-bomb. I'm gonna have to fine you now 100 biscuits. I'm gonna need 100 biscuits.
My effing. No. Better. Well, I never used to say this because I was too cowardly, but I really haven't taken a day off since my car accident.
Yep.
I've never taken a full day off since my car accident, and I am personally proud of that. I just don't think that's anything else anyone else would be proud of. But I also don't know. Maybe I'm projecting. But usually when I say it, people are like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I playfully joke, Kevin's been on one vacation in 8 years, and Emilia and I are going to the lake this weekend, but I'm going to work every day. And that's who I am and who I aspire to be. So my question for you is, how do you explain to your wife that you, so for example, in a world where a lot of people, if you look at the statistics, are working less and earning more privilege for less work. Let's just say that. Is that fair? This generation has had more privilege for less effort. That's what technology does.
I would say so, yeah.
All right, awesome. So we can actually say that.
Us included.
Yeah, of course.
Us
100%.
included, yeah.
100%. So how do you explain, I actually think about this. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about it, but I actually ask myself, how does Taryn deal with being with him? and I don't mean that, I know you're worth it. I don't mean it in that way.
No,
I mean, how does she deal with being with a partner who works 6 days a week, every week? How do you explain to her why this is necessary? Because honestly, it's not necessary. It's just what we do.
Well, it's necessary for me. This is what I want. This is what I signed up for. This is what I want to do. I don't want to do anything else.
So how would you explain it? Because if you go back to the whole earn it and work ethic, and you and I are very unique in the grit side of things and earning it, I think.
I would say so.
I've talked to a lot of people from a lot of other countries, and I don't want to be unkind to Americans. However, I do think the general consensus that I've gathered is that America seems entitled, and we just have by far the biggest economy, and it's been that way for a long time, so it makes sense. I'm not trying to be unkind to us. However, I don't have whatever that entitled American thing is, and that's not my words, that's what I've been told. I was just on with someone from France literally earlier today.
Parlez-vous français to them.
Yeah, I've never been, but I will be at some point. How do you explain it to someone who doesn't want to work every day?
You don't get to get what I get. You don't get to get what I get. That's all. And that's okay. I'm not saying that from an arrogant, I'm going to get whatever I want. I'm going to get what I work for, just like you're going to get what you work for. And I think the sooner we accept the fact that most likely, unless you are extremely blessed, nobody is coming to save you. And you most likely are going to accumulate what you work for. That's how I always say it. Here's the thing. I love the fact that you've worked every day for 9 years. You have to work every day in order to get what you want. And you know that. And I don't think you're ever going to be somebody who wakes up one day and regrets it. I genuinely don't believe that. I don't think you're ever going to regret it. I think you'll regret
the opposite.
100%.
Yeah, I regret not giving my all.
So I just know what you're doing isn't good for most people, just like what I'm doing isn't good for most people. That's why I never advise people do it. I don't think you should.
Isn't there something in it that is?
I think maybe the example more than the specific.
Yeah.
So I work very diligently in what I believe in. And the conversation I've tried to have with Taryn is, I know right now it seems like we're losing, but everybody that and again, I don't mean this in an unkind way, it's just, unfortunately, it tends to be the way it happens. A lot of other people in their mid-30s, Alan and I are 35 and about to be 36, Alan, they have the house and they have the kids and they have the 2 cars and the quarter acre and the 6-figure jobs and all that stuff. but it doesn't really get that much better from here. I think a lot of people are approaching a peak when we're only 2% of the way to the journey. Maybe not even. Alan would know better than I. This is 2%. Imagine what 90% would be like, but that's not going to be for another 50 years or whatever.
Well, it'll be 2, 4, 8, 16, 32,
math
64,
numbers,
right? And I guess my question for you would be, so for anyone out there listening or watching, if you don't aspire to what we aspire to, then please understand that you don't have to not take vacations. You can
right.
live
You can be a millionaire
life.
and take 2 vacations a year.
Yeah, of course.
If you play the game right, 100%.
There's ways to earn more, work smarter. And if you do want to maximize your potential, you are going to have to put it all on the court, and you are going to have to grow and improve and work. So if you do aspire to reach your true potential, which I do think is kind of the root underneath this show in general, is holistic potential, health, wealth, life, and love. How do you maximize we all get one life, let's make the most of it. I think that's underneath this. And you and I are going to have to be more honest as we get older and older and older on what this really took. And if you want what we want, like I tell Emilia all the time, I say, sweetheart, I'm very grateful that we both work from home. That's amazing. My commute is 30 seconds. Now, I also work 7 days a week, and I work late almost every freaking night.
You can hear your office calling you, since it's not that far from your bedroom.
So there's pros and cons to everything, and I really do believe that a lot of us are trying to get pros without the cons. And this Freestyle Friday, if we were to wrap this in a bow and give you something to take away, I think it would be, are you fulfilled? And if not, why not? Maybe one of the reasons why you're not is because you know you're not giving your all. And I have a client who is more successful than most people by a significant margin. And he told me, and he was very honest, which I really appreciate his candor, because you can see it all over him. I'm putting way more out on the court than he is, and I can just tell I'm more fulfilled, even though he's more successful in certain things. I think hanging out gets romanticized. I don't think hanging out's as good as people think. I think it looks really good in the moment, and then most of the time it's the people in the arena, bloodied and battered, that are actually really living the dream. In most circumstances, not all. However, he said, I'm only giving 20%. I said, brother, that is not fulfilling. You're not going to be fulfilled doing that. So let's dial it up. And I think that's what we all really want, which is meaning. And I think meaning comes from growing. And I don't think you can grow without seriously challenging yourself and putting yourself under at least some pressure. Too much pressure is destructive. I understand that. I honestly think WPI for me might have been a little too much pressure. I almost cracked like a freaking walnut. I'm not even kidding. Computer engineering was awful. It was so freaking hard. I failed my first engineering class, and I was straight A's physics award guy. So for me, that was, and granted, I partied too much, but way too much. But I had to grow and evolve from that, because it was either sink or swim, and there's something to be said for that, even though I know it can be destructive.
Well, I think too much pressure is destructive, and I think not enough pressure can be destructive, just in a different way. It's destructive now, too much pressure, versus destructive eventually with not enough pressure. That's why it's so hard to do episodes like this, because the truth is, some of you need to work more. You just do. The other part of it is, some of you need to practice self-love more, and you need to give yourself a little freaking grace, and you shouldn't be as hard on yourself as you are. And we are trying to drive to 5. That's what drive to 5 means. It means if you're working at a level 1 and you expect level 10 goals, you're going to have to bump that number up. You know? But if you're looking
at least one notch.
A couple notches. If you're working at level 10 and you're burning yourself out and your family hates you and you hate yourself and you're letting your body go to shit, and you need to dial it back, and you have to get reacquainted with what's really important to you. And that's why these episodes are so hard. Now, we don't have time to do this now because we have to jump. But this would be a conversation maybe for a different day. What's the difference between maximizing your potential and optimizing your potential? Because maximizing suggests freaking redlining it. And right now, you are freaking redlining it.
Maximizing, I know we don't have time.
We don't have time.
Maximizing it does not imply redlining it, if you understand. Optimal means 5.
Okay.
If I'm at redlining it at 10, that's actually not optimal. Therefore, I'm not maximizing. So there's another layer underneath that I think you might be missing.
Most likely.
That's why I have a 91 sleep score. Dude, you don't sleep 10 hours and redline. I am redlining. However, for me, I do think I'm a little past 5, but not that much. I'm actually in my learning zone, my constructive zone. You, unfortunately, when I'm in my constructive zone, sometimes you're in your panic zone.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, and we've tried to work on that, which is why I'm the CEO.
Well, I think we've done a good job of... I'm not as connected to you as I once was.
Yeah.
In like what Alan is doing, Kevin is doing. It's not like that as much anymore, which is good.
Because that wasn't maximizing Kevin. That was actually hurting Kevin.
Yeah, it was deading Kevin.
It was deading
All right,
Kevin.
We got to go. Next Level Nation, as you know, and as we did the shout-outs in the beginning, we have a private Facebook group. It's all about growth. As of today, we have 751 members, I think. So if you're looking to get into a group of like-minded individuals, if you want to get into a group, you can join Next Level Nation. Link will be in the show notes. We'd love to have you. Positive content every day, good vibes, self-improvement. That's what we all aspire to. That's why you listen to this podcast. So if you're looking for a group, that's the place to do it.
I had here we go. Okay. New review comes to our email now. Love it. My new secret weapon, 5 stars. No matter how upbeat and positive you think you are, I added the think you are. Even the best of us can use a boost, all caps, every once in a while. This has totally become my new secret weapon to give me that edge to take on the day, every day. Love what you guys are doing. Keep it up, guys. We shall.
We will.
We shall.
We're gonna.
Thank you to you. You know who you are. Thank you for listening. Thank you for that awesome review. And if you have not yet reviewed the show, please, please, please do. We appreciate it so much. It means a lot. And I read every single one, and so does Kev. So please let us know.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it very much. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep reaching your potential. Next Level Nation.